What's going on, everybody? Coming at you a little early this week. It is Tuesday night, episode 296 of Top Rope Nation. Ryan Drosty here with Justin Joint, as always. Justin, some scheduling quirks later in the week, so we had to come at the listeners a little early, and we wanted to anyways, because we wanted to get some of our thoughts out there on Backlash before it becomes too much old news. But how are you doing this week? How is your week going so far?
Not too bad. I was a little worried coming into tonight that I would be distracted during the show. Back in the days when it was the three of us, I could get away pretty easily with having the TV on in the background. We had somebody who always had a lot to say, so I could sometimes zone out. But that's not the case anymore. And I was planning on having the Celtics game on in the background, but I do not have to because they are getting beat by damn near 20.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Well,
thank you, Michael Jenkinson. Right on time.
of course. Well, you know what? We're happy to have you get a little distracted here tonight, Justin, as we talk a little pro graps with the listeners. Appreciate everyone tuning in live right now on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and everywhere else we are streaming, or even after the fact if you are catching us on demand. Justin, I got to ask you, what do you got on the glass tonight? Anything at all?
A little Buffalo Trace.
Ooh, solid.
Yep,
Solid choice.
I didn't have any bourbons or scotches that like have snipping in the title or cutting or um killing millions of sperm. So
Oh, why do you speak of that?
well tomorrow I'm going in under the knife, quote unquote. I don't think they actually do knives anymore, but getting snipped tomorrow. How about you?
Yes.
What are you doing tomorrow?
I don't know, man. Just hanging out. We can talk about it off air. I'll tell you what I'm doing right now. I'm drinking a little green spot.
Oh, nice.
I think our friend who always had a lot to say would he would approve of this. I think I heard about this from Kyle. Green spot.
He raved about that on his Ireland trip, I believe.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, yeah, I feel like the listeners always expect to hear us talk about what we're drinking at this point on this show, almost 7 years in. So we got to throw that in at the beginning. So Buffalo Trace and Green Spot. Go pick up some bottles, listeners, if you haven't had them. Two solid drinks.
I don't think I've
solid
had
whiskeys.
Don't think I've had Green Spot. Is it pretty good?
It is good. It's very smooth.
All
Very
right.
smooth. Yeah, I like it a lot, actually. So check it out. Maybe next time you're over here, Justin, you can have a little bit of the Green Spot. So,
sounds good to me.
As always, appreciate everyone who supports us on Patreon. Got an update on that. You see the name scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So the poll for the May edition of Top Rope Nation Classics just ended, and we have a winner. I have not even told Justin. So here's his live reaction. We will be reviewing here in a couple of weeks Super Brawl 1 from 1991.
Nice.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Love the early 90s WCW.
Fantastic.
So looking forward to that.
Hell yeah.
I think that was Matthew Madrell that nominated that. He's been on the pod once before, patron of the show, and he might be coming on with us to review that. Well, I'll have to reach out to him and see. But we're definitely looking to have guests on now with us on TRN Classics and to bring on some of the Top Rope Nation patrons to join in on the fun. And we had Jesse, of course, on last week. By the way, shout out Jesse Velasquez. Next Monday, he is going to start live streaming his show. Definitely would love it if all the Top Rope Nation listeners checked out and subscribed to Jesse's YouTube channel. It will be a Unplugged Wrestling podcast. You can find the link to that. He will be posting on his social media. So if you don't follow Jesse, at Jesse C. Velasquez or at Wrestling UNU, that's where you can find all of those links. So with all of that out of the way, Justin, give me your grade for WWE Backlash. What did you think of the show on Saturday night?
Number one, first and foremost, I would give that crowd an A+. I think that had to have been close to like a, I don't know, top 25 all time WWE crowd.
Yeah. Definitely.
They were phenomenal. And they made the show. Like if that was just your regular old, uh, I mean, the very next night, Monday Night Raw crowd,
Mhm.
I think that really hurts the show a lot. And in a couple matches that I liked a lot, I don't think I would have cared for his match or as much. Uh,
Mhm.
but since they were with that crowd, it was just incredible. It just makes all the difference in the world. And it really, watching Monday Night Raw the next night, it just shone an even brighter spotlight on how quiet that crowd is and how obvious the piped in noise is. I mean, it's embarrassing.
Mhm.
Having said that, I would give the show probably a B. There was a lot I liked.
Mhm.
A lot of it felt out of nowhere and was honestly only made because of the fans, because of the crowd. And it doesn't really feel like there was a lot of interest storyline wise coming out of the show. Um, but it was still fun. I enjoyed it. I think we'll talk about it. The uh, card, the way that was laid out, I think probably took it from at least a B plus down to a B, if not like an A minus. Things may have been a little different, especially you change the booking of the card and you change the booking of Cody and Brock. And I think this would have been a much better show.
Yeah. Yeah, I was at a B on this as well. For a lot of the reasons I always list, if you're new to the show, this is how I grade shows. C is an average show. B, gotta have something on it I would rewatch. A, gotta have a match of the year contender or like every single match. Very, very solid with the good crowd, which, this was an
Mhm.
awesome crowd, as you mentioned, Justin. I would go B because not everything was great, but there was some stuff on it that I would rewatch. In fact, I rewatched the Bianca Belair Io Sky match the next day with my daughters. And so I did rewatch and I was very entertained by it a second time. That was an excellent, excellent match.
Yeah, but that kind of goes to my point. Like I'm right there with you. I loved it. It was, and I kind of wanted to say my match of the night, but that's tough to say with how much fun that street fight was.
Hmm.
But even, Bianca in EO, that kind of came out of nowhere. And it's not like EO
Yeah.
Sky has been, had a lot of steam behind her. It just seemed like they kind of threw him in there. And what made it, which was super weird, was how much the crowd was into EO. I didn't understand that at all. I don't know if that's like if she's just someone we didn't realize Puerto Rico loved, or if
Yeah.
maybe that is more telling about how people feel about Bianca's championship reign right now. That maybe they're a little bored with it.
Maybe a sign that Vince McMahon is not in the back was that we didn't hear any Bizarro World or Bizarro Land references. In fact, the commentary leaned into the fact that they pointed out they were cheering
Hmm.
Io Sky, and yeah, that did make it was for an interesting dynamic for sure. I honestly I think the money is in Bianca as a heel long term. I think she is.
Mm.
I think she is. She can be a very good heel on the main roster. I really do. But I like to see Io Sky get that shine. I mean, obviously she's an awesome wrestler, great worker. We've seen it before in NXT for so long. Would like to see her get a run with the title eventually. I think this was the right result at this moment in time, but it was an excellent match. I rewatched it. I would rewatch the Bad Bunny stuff. There was some
Hmm.
stuff on the show that I disagreed with, specifically with, where they laid out the matches as far as match order goes, which we'll talk about here in a second. But man, overall, I thought it was a very entertaining show, and the crowd was a big, big part of that. I can't quite go A on it though, but it was
Hmm.
solid. I endorsed the show. As far as what our listeners thought over on Twitter.com, yes, we are still using it because we do have a large following there. Although Twitter is getting more and more
Oof.
unusable by the day with that moron in charge over there. But as of right now, we did have 115 votes in the poll, so that's why we're still using it. As of now, we can still do polls, Justin. Do you know he's going to start charging people to do polls? You're
Oh
going to have
my
to be one of
God.
those marks that buys the blue check to do polls pretty soon. But as of
Did,
right now, we can still do it.
did you see
And
what that monster's doing now?
yeah, he's
That he's
partnering with that Tucker Carlson. I did see that.
Oh no,
And he's
I
gonna
was
and
talking
he's gonna introduce video calls in DMs or something.
not even what I was talking about. He's deleting accounts that haven't had any activity in like
Oh,
7
yes.
years or something like that,
Yeah.
which, you know, a lot of those are like people that have died, and that's, it's like the only way that you can kinda
Yes.
go back and relive, somebody's life is with their Twitter accounts, and now they're just fucking gone. What a monster.
And I honestly, I even have, like, a parked account that I signed up for because it was an old username that I had when I switched usernames, and I wanted to redirect people to my new profile. And, people dip into our archives here in Top Rope Nation. The first couple years when we started, I had a totally different username. So if you listen to that and you wanna follow me and I'm shouting out my Twitter, you're not gonna find it unless you go to that parked, and that's not causing any harm. Yeah, and
Mhm.
it just basically just says you can find me here now. Um, yeah, but yeah, to your point of, yeah, people that are deceased, you want to keep that up for God's sakes. What's it matter? So
It's
I
so
know he's
weird.
trying to get rid of well, actually, is he trying to get rid of trolls? I don't think so.
I
He's trying to
highly
get rid of
doubt that.
stagnant accounts or duplicates, but yeah, it seems like he's trying to amp up the trolling. But anyways, as of now, at least we can still do the polls. We don't have too many Nazis infiltrating our polls, Justin, sent by Elon Musk. So as of
I
now,
don't know, it
we
looks
had
like we got about 7% of Nazis in our poll on
well
this one.
7%. Yeah, 7% gave this show a D or an F. Not a D or F show, guys. I mean, I don't know what you were watching. Always got some trolls there. 57%, 57.4 A, 25.2 B, 10.4 C. So overwhelmingly people between that A and B. I think the people going A on it probably aren't quite as picky as we are. But I
Mhm.
mean, you can see in general, people were very much approving of this show, and I can't disagree with them at all there. It was a solid outing. Like we said, that opening match um, with Bianca, I guess the soon to be SmackDown Women's Champion, still the Raw Champion,
So dumb.
um, defeating Io Sky, about 18-minute match, solid stuff. Rollins and Omos, Seth got a lot of credit for carrying Omos here and having an acceptable match with him. I still wouldn't call it a good match, but it was an acceptable match
I
by the
it felt
standards of Omos.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably pretty easily his best match in the
Yeah,
WWE. I just thought it was kind of exactly what it needed to be.
yeah.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
We'll talk more about Seth here in a little bit as it relates to that New World title and what happened on Ross. We'll come back to him. Yeah, the triple threat, Austin Theory, Lashley, Bronson Reed. I think I said when we did the quick picks on last week's show, I was like, I guess I'll go with the title switch here because I don't think any titles are going to change hands, but it made sense to keep it on Austin Theory. He retained about 7 minutes. Match
To
was fine. I
Yeah,
mean,
completely
nothing.
forgettable match.
Yeah, nothing to write home
Ask me in
about.
a year what the US title match was on Backlash. I ain't gonna be able to tell you.
Exactly. Rhea Ripley retaining the, for now, SmackDown Women's Championship against Zelina Vega. All right, the outfit Zelina had on was very cool. Got to give her
Mhm.
props in that.
Well,
Dedicating the match to her father, who tragically died 9/11,
mhm.
when clearly she wasn't going to win this match. I mean, this was the one of the easiest picks on the show. I guess it's fine to acknowledge what happened with her dad and everything, but I mean, we knew she wasn't going to win.
Yeah,
So I
it
mean,
made for a nice moment before and after the match with the crowd
yeah,
cheering her on. But once
yeah,
again, just like Io, kind of just pulling somebody out of the pile and throwing them into a world title match, just cold.
yeah. San Juan street fight. Now, here's the big
Woo.
debate. I definitely would have had this in the main event slot. And there's a lot of back and forth on Twitter with some people on this. From most of the people I follow, including some of the bigger names in like wrestling media, were on kind of the side of this should have main evented. Now, I know that these are not like traditionally your big stars. Rhodes, Cody, and Brock are. And so, I understand the mindset of we want to put our biggest stars in the main event. But at the same time, Cody and Brock was not for a title. And this was a unique show in that it is a premium live event in Puerto Rico where they rarely run shows to begin with. And then you have, one of the biggest music artists in the world wrestling on it, who happens to be from Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
And you have all these run-ins with,
Mhm.
Savio Vega and Carlito scheduled. You have to main event with this. You just have to, based on knowing that crowd is going to go electric for Bad Bunny. Dude, I don't know, man. I'm telling you, I am a Bad Bunny stan now, Justin. I love this guy, and he should have main evented. After this, the crowd died for the
Yeah.
Bloodline match, which has
Well,
been their main storyline. I mean, part of that is it was the come down from such a cool match. But it should have gone on last. And then especially when we get to how the main event ended, I don't think if you have booked that match to end in that fashion, Cody and Brock, then certainly you don't need to main event with that.
nope.
So
I
I
so
don't get it. Go
the
ahead.
thing I don't get is anybody you were arguing with online is the proof was in the crowd.
Mhm.
They absolutely died after the street fight. And you said, they were quiet for the Bloodline and Riddle Owens and Zayn match. I mean, they were still pretty quiet for Cody and Brock.
Oh,
They were, I
everything
mean,
Cody was doing, all of his offense was getting 0 response. And this was
yeah.
such an electric crowd all night long.
Yep. So I mean, you have the proof right there that they made a mistake by not putting the street fight on last. I've been racking my brain trying to think of like why, especially once they had all the beats laid out for what was going to happen in the street fight, why
Mhm.
they wouldn't have put that on last. And like you said, Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar are, some of the tippy top guys, especially Brock. Can't really say that for Cody with the way things have been going the last couple months. But like you said, with the way they laid out that match, it didn't really make sense. So the only thing I could think of is that considering they were in Puerto Rico, that they had to have been worried if they did blood in Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar early, that the crowd would possibly expect it in the street fight.
Mhm.
And maybe that would have killed some of the fanfare that match got, which that still doesn't even make total sense. That was just the only thing I could come up with as to why, maybe they wanted to go with Rhodes and Lesnar last.
It's interesting too. I mean, it was a long time ago, but this is a company who has gone the celebrity route in the main event at a pay-per-view before. Um, the biggest show of the year,
Hmm.
WrestleMania 11. I mean, what main evented that show? Lawrence Taylor, Bam Bam
Yeah.
Bigelow, right? Hartford, Connecticut. I mean, not too far away from New York, where Lawrence Taylor played football. And that main evented over your WWF title match between Shawn and Diesel. And there was definitely a down period for the industry. And Lawrence Taylor, one of the greatest linebackers of all time, but as a worldwide superstar, not I don't think this is controversial to say Lawrence Taylor was not as big as Bad Bunny is in
No, no.
2023. I mean,
Yeah.
Bad Bunny is streamed all over the world. I mean, Spanish speaking super music superstar all through Latin America and South America and in Europe and everywhere. American football, especially in 1995, really only popular here to a very limited extent in Europe.
Hmm.
And they made event with Lawrence Taylor. Here it's a B-level pay-per-view in Puerto Rico where they never run. Like, you have to main event. I don't get the thinking there. And yeah, you said it. The proof was in the pudding and what happened afterwards. But that said, the match was a spectacle and it was entertaining as hell. I
Hmm.
loved all of it. I haven't even said this yet. I loved the entranceway at this show.
Yes.
More
Great call.
subdued. More subdued. You
Unique.
don't need unique. You don't need the gigantic Titantron at every single show. This is more in line with what they've done, like Royal Rumble's a baseball
Yeah.
stadium recently, where it's smaller. They're coming out of the dugout area. Here, it was like they were coming out this narrow hallway with the LED boards on the side and the fans hanging right over them, and it almost called back to like the '90s when the entranceway was out from the corner
Hmm.
and not straight on from the ring. And it was such a unique feel. And these WWE shows, we have ranted on this for years that they feel so stale. And even just something that small made it feel so much different and more exciting to me. Even just from the entrances and the way the camera would kind of follow them out sometimes. Like I think when Bad Bunny came out, they followed
Yes.
him
That's
right
the one I was going to
down,
mention. Yep.
right down. Yeah, and that was really cool. I love that look, and it felt just like the fans were right on top of them because they were literally, and it's just you could feel the energy through your television, and I loved it. I loved the match. Loved seeing Savio Vega. Did I ever tell
Yeah.
you that I think I was behind Savio Vega at Disney World in 1997?
No, I don't think so.
Real quickly, I went to Disney World in the summer of 1997. I've told the story before how at Epcot, I rushed to the Canada section to buy a Canadian flag
Yes, I remember
because it was
that.
during the Hart Foundation era. I can't remember what ride it was, but I was behind a man in line, and he was big, and I am like 95% it was Savio Vega. I was 13, yeah, 13 at the time, going into 8th grade. Big WWF fan, obviously. I'm pretty sure I was behind Savio Vega in that line. Anyways, I love the match. Your thoughts, Justin?
To piggyback on what you said, I can't imagine there being anybody who's watching the show being like, uh, I I wish, the stage that I see every single week for 5
Yeah, no
hours a
kidding.
week
No
was
kidding.
there. No, nobody's saying that. And it's not like we're asking for them to go back to the giantly produced unique stages from, the late 90s and early 2000s. We don't need that. Just,
Yeah.
kind of build it towards the place that you're at, make it unique. That's all. Then the other thing I would shout out is it has some kinks. I think the person operating it might have been a little drunk, but I loved the drone stuff. And I'm actually
Oh,
honestly
I actually
kind of,
like that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of shocked that we haven't seen that until now, at least not that I can remember.
I saw some people on Twitter, maybe some of you are watching, chime in the chat room that didn't like it. I thought that was awesome. I loved the opening where that drone came into the
Mhm.
arena and then flew over the crowd and they all went crazy for it. That was so unique. That was really, really cool. I
Yeah, I
liked it a
mean,
lot.
there was all sorts of cool. The way it kind of flew around, getting the entire crowd, and then at one point, and like I said, there's some kinks, some timing, but it flew up right behind somebody making their entrance for a really cool shot. It's just they kind of missed it. The person was already too far ahead, but I loved it. I think I'll give me that every day instead of those stupid giant CGI graphics.
No kidding. Justin, are we being too kind to WWE right now? What is happening? I did. I liked watching the show a lot, and I loved that it was on a Saturday night. God
Mhm.
dang. Keep that up,
Yep.
man. Keep that
Absolutely.
up.
Absolutely. But yeah, everything to your point, this match was just I don't think it's anything we haven't really seen before, just as far as the match goes. But when you have that crowd and the Carlito comeback was freaking amazing with the apple and everything. And as you
Mhm.
already pointed out, Savio Vega and the way they aligned all of that. I'd be curious. Do you think Carlito could come back for a while? I know he came back at a Rumble recently, didn't he?
I mean, it looked like he could still go. I
Yeah.
think so. He was pretty sour on the business,
Hmm.
when he left. I remember that. But yeah, I think so. I think definitely I'd be interested to see the reaction he would get across the rest of the country, as compared to his hometown and how long that pop would last for seeing him return. Like he got a nice pop in the Rumble. I remember when he came
I
back. But
I would say for your average Raw show, it'd probably be lukewarm.
yeah, yeah. Uh but Taylor in the chat, 1997 Disney. Did you get a mock Pro Wrestling Illustrated mag cover with your mug? I wish. I wish. I should have done that. That would have been very cool. I do remember seeing those stands around where you could do that, pick from the magazines and everything. Yeah, I think he could come back for a short run though. Carlito, definitely. I got a question for you.
Okay.
And I saw this floating around. I think if it's not already published, shout out to SE Scoops as we're streaming on their YouTube channel. I know someone was going to write a column on SE Scoops about Logan Paul or Bad Bunny, better celebrity wrestler.
I would probably take it's weird because I think just like in ring and athleticism, I think I like
Mhm.
Logan Paul better.
Mhm.
But there's something about the way that like Bad Bunny sells
Yes.
that it's just it amazes me a little bit. I mean, there's an obvious love for professional wrestling from him,
Mhm.
which maybe isn't there for Logan Paul. It's he's there to make money,
Right.
whereas
Yeah, Bad Bunny's, well, I guess Logan Paul, he probably doesn't really have to do it either, but like Bad Bunny is bigger than Logan Paul, and he definitely doesn't have to do it. And he's still doing. I mean, this for WWE, talk about a gift. That this guy, the most streamed
yeah,
artist in the world, wants to work a match for you. I mean, so yeah, so who you're taking Bad Bunny then?
I suppose there's still something a little bit. I don't know what the right word here is. There's something that bothers me about Bad Bunny. I can't quite put my finger on it. Like I said, I love the way he sells, and there's an obvious love for professional wrestling, but
Yeah.
he is still very small in that ring, and it looks like, I don't know, 50% of just the normal moves should be able to finish him off.
Mhm.
Uh, but I would probably choose him just because of the obvious love.
Pretty much the same reasons for me. I think clearly Logan Paul is better in the ring as an athlete,
Mhm.
but wrestling's all about star power. They're both stars, but Bad Bunny is a bigger star. To me, the level of charisma he brings is just a little bit higher, and I think in wrestling, just star power carries you. Clearly, I mean, some of the biggest names in the history of wrestling were not great workers. Logan Paul's a pretty good worker for where he's at right now. But yeah, I would go with Bad Bunny at this point. At least Logan Paul isn't pushing the "I must be a babyface" thing anymore as the crowd boos the shit out of him.
True.
So he's got that going for him.
And you know what? I just realized I just need to stay on brand for me. Uh,
Sweating.
Logan Paul's a great sweater. So I'm going to go with Logan Paul,
Yeah.
especially since I find it very hard to root for Riddle these days. And
Yeah.
he was kind of the GOAT sweater in modern day pro wrestling.
Speaking of Riddle, the six man, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I mean,
Oh,
I had a
man.
pretty busy weekend. I still really enjoyed watching this show. This one just the crowd wasn't into it, and it went too long, like 22 minutes. Bloodline against Owens, Riddle, and Zayn with the Bloodline going over. I fell asleep. I'm not gonna lie. I fell asleep during this match, and I haven't gone back and revisited it.
I didn't fall asleep, but I was bored to tears during it. Absolutely
Yeah,
bored to tears. I don't understand why they didn't put this one on earlier, unless they thought this feud was hotter than it actually was, or that this
very
crowd would react to it that way.
very odd too, because normally this is like the moment in the show where they put the cool down match, and
Mhm.
especially between Bad Bunny, which you knew was going to be hot, Cody and Brock, and this had been like their hottest story going back for the last couple of years, and like I couldn't have been less invested in it.
This spot
And
in between the street fight and the main event, this seems like the perfect spot for that triple threat US title match. This is where you put
yes,
that.
and it's a title match, so like yeah, it's your secondary title. I know the main event wasn't for a world title, but they're always in the world title picture. So I mean, yeah, that would have been ideal, I think. But yeah, because I fell asleep for a good portion of it, I don't have any deep thoughts on this one unless you do.
No, I think it's a pretty big indictment on how they've maybe flubbed this feud a little bit.
Very odd how the Bloodline and Owens and Zayn are on separate brands. Now I know they're the tag champions combined right now, and I guess they can float
Although I
until
don't
they
have they.
clarify what's going to
Yeah, I was gonna
happen
say
there. I
I haven't
mean,
heard any clarification. This whole freaking split has just been so stupid.
yeah, but very odd. So yeah, that main event, Cody and Brock. How
Well,
can I say
okay,
this?
they
Yeah.
they, they kick things off with the underdog babyface cheating. Before the bell even
Yes.
rings, he starts beating him with all the weapons. He does that stupid walk over to the steel steps. I don't know what the hell that was all about.
The one everyone's
That
been joking about online. Yeah.
Yeah, that was embarrassing. So that right off the bat, I was like, "What are they doing?" They're just making them look desperate. I don't feel like
Mhm.
they've built it up well enough for them to do this now. It's not like a bunch of baby faces before him have done this same thing. So
Yeah.
right off the bat, I was confused.
Cody got a good pop coming out. I think I said in our Facebook thread at the time, nobody could make a bunch of Puerto Ricans scream for American imperialism quite like Cody Rhodes, I guess. Cheering for the red, white, and blue as we
Uh,
still deny them statehood and proper representation in our government. Anyways, we'll get off that. But
I
he
like
did
it.
get a good pop coming out. But yeah, as you mentioned, this match was dying. I mean, for a crowd that had been so hot for this show, except for that previous match. I mean, my God, it stood out how dead quiet they were. And you got your baby face on offense, and everything he was doing, there was zero reaction for. Really, the crowd did not come alive until the blood.
Yep.
We
Well,
got the blood. All of a sudden, the crowd got into it and didn't go very long after that.
it can't be shocking because your big baby face cheated to start the match, and
Yeah.
then Brock basically dominated the entire middle portion. And then, like you said, blood finally popped the crowd, and your baby face who cheated had to like do a little sneaky package to win the match. I know it wasn't exactly a small package, but he rolled him up.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't get much out of this victory. It makes sense. Yeah, Brock is like this bigger, way bigger guy. It's hard to believe that Cody can beat him, but that's everyone on the entire freaking roster.
Mhm.
So like, okay, he sneaks away with this victory, and then he like literally runs away. So at the start of the match, you had him cheating. The end of the match, he's in banana peel finish, barely beats Brock, and then he runs away from him. I mean, what a way for your top baby face to act. I don't know, man. I know he still got a good pop on SmackDown and everything, and when he came out here, but they weren't really reacting to his audience. And I keep wondering at the back of my mind, how long till the crowd turns on Cody? And I know a
Yep.
lot of people are online saying that's a stupid take. Look at this crowd's going crazy for him. I don't think it's a stupid take. I think this crowd is going to turn on him. I don't know if it's going to be 3 weeks from now or 3 months from now or 6 months from now, but I don't think it's that much longer, Justin. I mean, it depends who he's paired against, but I think the super uber over the top patriotic character is going to lose its luster after a while. And we said it on the show before, like he comes across very scripted, which works better in WWE than in AEW, where the crowd turned on him quicker. It's just totally different type of
Mhm.
fan over there. But I think eventually it is going to catch up to him. And again, this was one of the problems I had with him not going over at Mania. And I think I said it at the time is like, if you want him to get that big response for winning, like it seems this is the time, because if they wait on doing it, he might not have the fans behind him anymore. And he is, to me as a viewer, and boy, watching this match, it sure felt like it, feels like he has lost a ton of momentum since WrestleMania. Like the entrance might still get the pops and everything,
That is
but like,
exactly
dude,
going to be my point.
other than the entrances, the promos are lame. What do you want to talk about? Okay, it
Ugh.
was funny the first time, but like, is that really a leading line for every promo? Uh, I think it's wearing thin. I think he's on thin ice right now, and I don't think he should be the world champion because that's not the story they're telling. But I think yet again I think not putting the title on him long term was a problem, because this company needs to make new stars outside of Roman Reigns. And I'm not really sure what a long Roman Reigns title reign means other than rewriting the record book, which I don't know if the fans these days really care about that anyways. So what are we doing here? We're just treading water with Cody Rhodes, and I don't know, man. We'll see
It,
what happens. I'm not confident.
talking about the WWE loyalists who will push back against you and be like, oh, like you said, listen to that. Yeah. At the beginning of a song, everybody chants with that. That's how they base everybody as being over, is how much do they sing along with their entrance music? You talk
Yeah.
about Seth Rollins and LA Knight.
Yeah.
It's like, that ain't over, people. Just
Mhm.
because sing along does not mean you are over. My big
Yeah.
question is, and I know it probably wouldn't work, because the only reason we saw blood in that match is because Brock Lesnar can do whatever Brock Lesnar wants to do. But isn't that
Mhm.
like even almost the exact same match? Isn't it 1,000 times better if Cody was the one who's bleeding at the end?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
he gets the sneaky win?
Mhm. Overcoming the injury.
Yeah.
Yes. For sure.
So I don't know. So I think I put in the Facebook group that Brock was the one who came out of that match looking 100 times better than Cody does. And
Yeah,
I
because
don't
if
think
you're
they did.
watching it, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because if you're watching it, you come away thinking Brock Lesnar is the badass,
Mhm.
and he slipped up, but like 9 times out of 10, he's gonna kick this guy's ass.
Yep.
That's what you would think watching it.
And then he did it 2 nights later.
Yes. once again, he comes out and beats the shit out of him, just like after WrestleMania. And anyone watching this is like, yeah, Cody's got to get lucky to beat this guy. Well, if this is your next major star that maybe unseats Roman Reigns someday, like, is that the opinion you should have this guy?
And that's what I'm curious about is how long this is going to go for. Is the next match going to be Cody's decisive win? Because you assume that has to be the end game of this feud is Cody getting a decisive win.
Mm-hmm.
But will they be able to pull the trigger on that before they've done irreputable damage? To your point already, with maybe the crowd is not quite as into him as they were before. Like, will the next match be Brock getting his win back? And then you have the tiebreaker where Cody probably gets the win in some 25-minute match.
I mean, WWE history tells me Brock's winning this match at Night of Champions. And that's gonna hurt Cody again because he
Yep.
barely won. Then he's gonna lose. Yes, he'll finally get the win in the third match whenever that happens. I mean, they don't have after this, after Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia, I believe then it's like July 1st is Money in the Bank and then SummerSlam. So I guess they could do it at SummerSlam. I mean, you're talking we're 3 months from now at this point.
Yeah.
So
I mean, God willing, the plan is Cody gets a decisive win at Night of Champions, wins Money in the Bank,
mhm,
and challenges ahead of time
yes.
Roman Reigns for the world titles, the 1A and 1B world titles. I don't know how we're going to differentiate all these world titles that WWE has at SummerSlam.
Oh, he's gonna come out in a Ford or something at Ford Field, painted red, white, and blue for that big entrance. Finally take the title from Roman. That's what they'll do. I agree. That's probably the ideal situation to get you there, to have him go over at Money in the Bank, which, apparently was the plan. I think at one point last year before his injury, they could do it here over at the O2 Arena over in the UK. And then, yeah, a month later, SummerSlam in Detroit. That is ideal. I don't want to see 3 matches, but then again, you got Brock Lesnar here. Is he going to agree to lose 2 times in a row to Cody? I mean, Brock hasn't been winning big matches lately. He's probably going to push back. He needs a win.
Yeah. God, who was it? Was it Sean Ross Sapp talking? It was weird because like they were talking about how important this win was for Cody. That it had all these caveats. It's like he was the first person in a non-title match, singles match, to beat Brock Lesnar since I think like Triple H, I guess John Cena were the only other two to do it. It hasn't been done since like 2016 or something like that. But it had all these caveats where it's like, okay, well, does it really mean anything?
Right.
Certainly not with the way they laid that match out, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Brock's history over the last couple of years is basically he beat Omos, of course, at Mania, brief match. He lost by DQ to Lashley at Elimination Chamber. Obviously didn't win in the Royal Rumble. He beat Lashley at Crown Jewel last November. So, like, other than Omos, who everyone expected him to beat, I mean, that wasn't really a big win. He hasn't had a good win, I guess, since Lashley last November.
Wait,
He lost to Roman before that at SummerSlam. He lost to Roman at Mania before that. And then he beat Austin Theory. I don't know, that's a house show. He won the Elimination Chamber match in 2022. So basically, since Elimination Chamber, his only victory that really mattered much was the Lashley match at Crown Jewel in November of 22. That would be it.
I don't know. I would assume that if there's any chance that Cody can win soon, is that, Brock's been wrestling a lot. He's wrestled on every premium live event so far this year. So maybe they say, hey, give us one more. We're going to write you a big old check at Night of Champions. And then you can take the rest of the year off and we'll bring you back for WrestleMania season.
Yeah. Well, I hope they can convince him because that would probably be the ideal situation given the lay of the land right now. But
Yep.
we shall see. All right. So, Justin, this this new WWE World Title, the third World Championship for this company. We talked about it on
1C.
last week's show.
I
So I
almost
guess
want
we
to
don't need
call it like 2C. We got 1A, 1B, and 2C.
Yeah, if you didn't hear last week's show, go into the archives. We ranted on this for a while. But we had 2 triple threats on Raw. Cody versus The Miz versus Finn Balor was one. Seth versus Nakamura versus Damian Priest was the other. So if you didn't see Raw, you had Seth go over in the first one, which Nakamura just came back, but Seth seems like an obvious pick for this position, so I can't have any qualms with him winning that one. And then what happened in Cody and Miz and Finn was so predictable. I mean, I guess it's the right move given where they're going, but of course Brock came out and took out Cody, so he didn't have to win the match, but he was also protected because Brock attacked him out of the crowd, which is good because you don't want to see Cody win this title. That's just not the story they're trying to
I
tell here.
agree.
So I think everyone in our Facebook group had predicted this was going to happen, but that's what happened. Brock took him out, and Finn went over in the other triple threat to set up Finn and Seth in the main event. Go ahead.
I did think, or I did wonder if it would have been better to have Brock interrupt Seth and Cody, round 2 match. Let Seth get one of his wins back, but supposedly Seth Rollins is a babyface, which the only reason I can see that he's a babyface is because the crowd sings along with his music.
Yeah.
Because he's still obnoxious, like, a heel.
The character does absolutely nothing for me at all, but a
Same.
lot of the fans love to cheer that entrance theme, so, whatever. But he does nothing for me. I won't really have a problem if he is the guy who captures this new title because the title is totally meaningless and nobody is going to buy it as a real world champion anyways.
Okay, well, he's going to be. He's going to be the champ because he's on Raw, and whoever he's competing against is a SmackDown guy, and none of those guys look like inspiring picks. I mean, Jesus, in this entire thing, Austin Theory is the youngest person by a landslide. Everybody else has got to be in their mid 40s at least. This is embarrassing.
Yeah. That is. Yeah, Rollins defeated Balor in the main event, as you alluded to. It was a pretty good match, but to me, the result was never in doubt whatsoever.
Yeah, I liked the callback to their SummerSlam match, with the power bomb on the ring side. I don't know, what do you call that, barrier?
Yeah.
That was cool, but didn't really care about it otherwise.
Yeah. Calling back to the creation of the Universal title when they had to create another championship out of thin air.
Yeah, and the crowd booed the shit out of it when they debuted that title.
Yes, they did. But we don't learn from history here, Mr. Justin Joint. It's always a good thing to have multiple world champions. What has the last 20 years taught us anyways? So that's what happened on Raw. The only other thing I wanted to mention on Raw, did you see the Trish Stratus segment?
Nope, missed it.
Good for you. It was terrible.
Oh, no.
It was so bad. Oh, my God.
Was it her or her delivery or what happened?
Yep, all of it.
Oh, no.
So she came out and she gave this promo. And look, this is all scripted, so I'm only going to blame her for I'm not going to blame her for the material solely. But she comes out, and she runs down Becky Lynch again of like, where is Becky? And she just hasn't been good at portraying a heel to me. And then she talked about how Becky's kid is very dumb. I can't even remember what she said.
No.
There was some like landmark thing that a 2-year-old should be able to do, and she was like, "That kid can't even do that." It was embarrassing. The delivery was real bad. And then all of a sudden, Becky's theme comes on, and she's like, "Oh no, she's not supposed to be here." And then of course it was a fake out, and Becky wasn't there. And then she cackled, and nobody really reacted to that. And then the theme came on again, and she's like, no, we were only supposed to do that once. So then, of course, Becky came out and attacked her. But the promo part was very bad, Justin.
Now, real quick, just to defend WWE, that nobody reacted to that. They didn't react to anything else. So,
It's true. That is true. Yeah. It wasn't good. So anyways, that was Raw.
wait, hold on real quick. Did you see Dana Brooke come out? She's all like posing, and then she tries to give some knuckles to some little kid who just didn't even move. And so she just does it herself and goes back to posing. Yikes. I'm
Good for
sorry,
that kid.
Dana. Might be time to retire.
Yeah. So Seth Rollins will take on the winner of the SmackDown tournament at Night of Champions in Saudi here in a few weeks. So what we have scheduled on SmackDown is a triple threat between Edge, AJ Styles, and Rey Mysterio, and a triple threat between Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, and Sheamus. And then, just like on Raw, those two winners on Friday night will go at it, and whoever wins that will take on Seth. We can go predictions here. My prediction in the first match, Edge and AJ and Rey, is AJ wins. And then I think in the other one, Sheamus, Lashley, and Theory. I'm not so it doesn't really matter to me because I think it's going to be AJ that advances, but I'll go with Sheamus, I guess, since he's a former world champion. I think they'll protect Theory, and Sheamus maybe moves on, but I think it's gonna be AJ and Rollins at Night of Champions. What do you think?
God, I just don't like any of these options. I mean, Ray is the most over out of all of
Yeah.
them. I don't know if
Mhm.
maybe you give Edge one last run, but we've already seen Edge and Rollins how many times? I mean,
Yeah.
I
I think
would
they
I would
look
probably go
like the work
Lashley.
rate.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. But I would probably go Lashley because I feel like Rollins Lashley is not something we've seen a billion times.
I would like that. I would like that. I guess, yeah, work rate wise, AJ and Seth would have a pretty good match. Both former world champions.
Mm-hmm.
You could say the same for Lashley, though. Yeah, that would
We
make
could say
sense
the
too.
same for all of them except for Theory.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters. I think Seth wins it,
Yeah.
and he has been very over with the crowd over the last couple of years, so he'll win the meaningless third world title. And maybe they can play that up with Roman at some point and cross brands, because God knows this brand split probably ain't gonna last long term. But that's
Well,
rad.
last week we set the over under at 6 months for cross pollination. We were only off by 6 months.
Yes. Yes. Oh boy. All right. Real quick, a little AEW, and then we're gonna wrap things up. We talked about the pre-sale for All In at Wembley last week and the big time numbers this show was doing. And then Tony Khan tweeted out after the general on sale on Friday, they are at 60,000 sold. So, Justin, we talked last week, SummerSlam 92, I believe the paid was right around 79,000. And in the building, a little bit more than, or maybe it was 78, in the building 79, something like that. I don't remember. Right, just under 80,000. I don't have my notes in front of me. I think this show is going to get really damn close. I was talking to Liam O'Rourke about this, and I think when a show gets this big, and especially as the summer drags on, there's going to be so much hype that people that are on the fence are going to want to go. I think when you get over 60,000 sold, it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, I want to be there. I'll buy the $30 ticket, or 30 pounds or whatever it is over there, So I think they're going to get close to that 80,000. I don't know how many of them are going to be paid. Now, I do follow WrestleTix on their Patreon, and he had said, and I had tweeted this a couple of days earlier on our Twitter page, that looking at the map, it looked to me like they were probably close to 70,000. And he believes they're at 70,000 distributed, not necessarily sold. Some of
Hmm.
those are comps, maybe, whatever else they have going on with that. But they've sold 60,000. I'm sure when they've legit sold 70,000, TK will be on Twitter bragging about it. So, but like, I think they're close to having 70,000 in the building right now. And so if they can get up to 78,000 sold, that'll be a hell of an accomplishment. But, last week we talked about it, and I said, boy, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's a tall task. And then the next day I was regretting saying that when I saw the numbers after the on sale. I don't think it's out of the question now that they sell that many. To be honest with you, they still got almost 4 months. They don't have a single match announced, and they're over 60,000 right now.
Well, not
So,
only do they have a single match announced, we have zero direction for like
Yeah.
what matches could be on the card. We have no idea what we could see on there.
And we only expect AEW to get hot throughout the summer based on the returns that are about to happen.
Mhm.
And we talked last week about Double or Nothing, which sucks as a big show, but it almost feels like kind of just a stopgap show before the really good stuff starts happening in
Yep.
June. And then they're going to be build momentum all summer. They've already sold 60,000 tickets, maybe 70,000 distributed. This is going to be up there. It's going to be one of the top 2 UK shows of all time. And that is incredible for a company that's been around 4 years.
It's exciting. Right here on the pod, I'm gonna demand that Liam has to do a review show with you.
Oh,
That's gotta
yes.
happen.
We got to get the live perspective. We're definitely gonna have Liam on for
Actually,
that if we
any
can
of our
schedule it.
friends who are gonna be there, all you guys, come on the pod.
Yeah, we got a huge following over in the UK. Any of we can make it like 6 people on the stream. Biggest top rope nation of all time. Yes. So real quick, Wednesday night. So as some of you are listening to this, maybe the show's already happened, or maybe you're listening to this Wednesday morning or afternoon and you're getting ready for Dynamite, but they're running in Detroit and they got a hell of a show scheduled for Wednesday night.
Mhm.
So we can go through the card and talk about it. Justin, you pretty excited for tomorrow night?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be in mobile, so not like I'm going anywhere, doing anything.
Have some
I'm just
ice in one hand.
just gonna have an ice pack on my nuts and, watching some wrestling.
Well, you got the cage match with Omega and Moxley. You got Double Jeopardy with Ray Phoenix and Claudio, which basically means, Phoenix is one half of the ROH tag champs and Claudio, RO, ROH world champ. Wait, do I get this right?
ROH,
Yeah. Yeah. He's the
World Tag.
ROH.
Yeah,
And so I'm trying to think of the rules. Whoever wins gets a shot at the other person's title, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Which
That's what's going on.
do you know what would be dope? I'm sure, like, if Claudio wins, it'll just end up being, like, Claudio and Yuta versus Lucha Bros. But but how
Yeah.
freaking sweet would it be if, like, Chris Hero helps Claudio win the
Oh,
match, and so it's
yes.
the kings of pro wrestling against Lucha Brothers?
Oh, man. That would be so good. Yeah, they haven't announced when this match will take place quite yet, but,
Well, and
we
you
will
know
see.
what? I would assume Death Before Dishonor maybe, because, uh, Kingston's out for at least 6 weeks, if not
Mhm.
maybe longer, because he's getting hernia surgery or something, so, I had assumed that Claudio and Eddie was gonna be the feud over the summer, but maybe they delayed that a little bit now.
Yeah, yeah. We also got, international title, Orange Cassidy, Daniel Garcia. We've got Anna Jay taking on Julia Hart, no holds barred match. We've got the World Trios title match between House of Black and Best Friends and Bandito. So they got a stacked card, and they've been going all in, of course, on the cage match, and so they're hoping to pop a good rating. And I will be tuning in live for sure.
I mean, it can't be understated how big of a feud or how important of a feud Omega and Moxley is to AEW. Like,
Mm,
I am shocked that they're doing this in a steel cage kind of out of nowhere. Like, I know they've been feuding for a while, but it doesn't feel like it's built to a steel cage. So I'm expecting something big to come out of this.
yeah, agree. So I am intrigued. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I know that I think there's still tickets available, but they've sold a good amount of the seats for this show. I was scrolling on WrestleTix trying to find the last update on this. I do know there's a lot of tickets out for Double or Nothing this year. That house is nowhere close to
Yeah,
what we
not
saw in Vegas
surprising.
last year, which yeah, the crowd is or the card is pretty weak at this point for that one. So yes, indeed. Anything else you wanted to hit on? I'm still trying to find this tickets sold for Dynamite, but anything else that we haven't hit on tonight, Justin?
Not that I can think of. No.
Looks like Dynamite they're set up for 8,000 and they've sold about 6,500. So there's still about 1,500 seats. It's a good sized building, the Little Caesars Arena. So get out there if you're in Michigan. Should be a good show. So, anyways, I don't really have anything else, Justin. We hit a lot of topics in a quick amount of time, sir.
Yeah, I think I'm all set over here. I feel the beginnings of my second cold in 3 weeks,
Oh,
so
no.
that's awesome.
That ain't good.
That's why I'm getting snipped, everybody. When you have more than 1 kid in your household, you're going through every single germ that's out there.
Ain't that the truth? That's why we didn't do a show a few weeks ago because I
Yep.
had a really bad cold. I hope I don't get one again, but well, at least we got this show in early this week. We'll be back probably the normal time next week, next Thursday. So stay tuned for that. Of course,
We're
subscribe on Patreon.
we're gonna have to wait to pod until I can actually sit down on a hard wooden stool for, more than 10 minutes.
Yes, gotta protect the family jewels. So in the meantime, we got over 100 bonus shows, patreon.com/top rope nation, and of course the upcoming Super Brawl 1 show. That will be a lot of fun. And you can check out AWA Wrestle Rock 86 in the archives, our most recent Top Rope Nation classics. So with that said, for Justin Joint, I'm Ryan Drosty. Follow us on social media. The show's at Top Rope Nation, pretty much everywhere podcasts are found. You can find me at Ryan Drosty, Droste. Justin Joint at Justin Joint, JLYNT. Join the Facebook group, Top Rope Nation, Pro Wrestling Discussion. And we'll be talking to you in a little bit over 1 week. Take care, everybody, and have a great weekend.
Peace.